Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Hashtag Miranda Show. I am your host, the Twitterless heroine herself, ring announcer to the stars, and of course, the queen of soft style. It's Miranda Morales, and we are back for a new edition of the show. Thank you to all of you who listened to the best of the Hashtag Miranda Show last week. It was very awesome to handpick some of my favorite segments and share them all with you. But, you know, now we're back. The world is still spinning. Things are happening. So I'm back here this week with my co-host, the guy on the other screen that you're seeing right there, Greg DeMarco. Hi, Greg.
Wild card, bitches! Yeah!
I figured there'd be an opportunity to play the wild card soundbite while you were introing, and it just wasn't there. And then I pushed the button, and I meant to go down to Adam Cole. Yeah, didn't. But I got to Adam Cole eventually because all roads lead to Adam Cole.
All roads lead to Adam Cole. Yeah.
Title or not, I don't care. All roads lead to Adam Cole. Baby. That's why there was no show last week. Let's be honest. There was no show last week because I had to recover from the title loss of one Adam Servius Cole. I don't know what his middle name is.
No,
so.
yeah. Adam Cole? You think Adam is also his middle name?
Adam Cole?
Yeah.
Maybe Cole's his middle name and Bebe is his
last. Yes.
If not, then Cole-Bebe is a hyphenated last name. Like, it's part of the name.
It has to be part of the name.
Let me do the Miranda Clap. It's part of the name.
I mean, I feel like the context is there. Maybe the execution was a little off, but you know what? I think it was still a great effort. You know,
you got to start somewhere. I can't just, if I nail it on day one, where's the fun in that? We need weeks and weeks of practice.
I don't think you could if you tried to nail it on. I think you tried to nail it on day one and it just wasn't happening. But I
still gave it my best effort. Yeah, I still gave it. I'm saying that I didn't do it very well. What I'm saying is I shouldn't be able to do it very well. I don't have the years of experience that you do doing the Miranda Clap.
And
so you got to start.
It's a mix of practice, dedication, a little bit, you know, of just something within you. When you feel it, you feel it. You're making such a solid point. Something is just coming, like it's an idea, a thought is just coming to your mind that it's just too much for you to say. The clap, you know, goes with it. So
there's no more solid point for me to make than a point about Adam Cole. So I got that part. I guess I need the other parts still.
Yes. Yeah. It will come together. I feel like you have a lot of great potential. I feel like you have a lot of heart. And so, you know, just keep on at it. And I think
stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to the Hashtag Miranda Show as Greg works on the Miranda Clap.
Yeah.
Future editions of the program.
So with a new episode of this show, we also have a few new things. We have a new theme song, a new welcome song, whatever you want to call it. And this actually came about, I'd like to, you know, think of myself as a pioneer. And apparently there was a lot of things that have come while we have decided to move this show, not only in audio form, you know, to video form. And because of that, we've discovered, mainly Greg has discovered, that when you put a video on YouTube, there are some issues with, you know, songs that are copyrighted that you cannot have play in the video.
And if people might want to think back 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, We may have played You're So Vain like 14 times during that episode of the hashtag Miranda Show, and I think I got an email for every single occurrence of it. So,
yes.
Yeah, it was. So that episode exists. It is still on YouTube. There's a whole lot of dead spots in it, a whole lot of points where YouTube tried to take out the audio, like the background audio, but keep us talking. Like they tried. I'll give them credit. Like you tried, YouTube.
They tried.
But it's just, yeah. It's out there. You can listen, you can enjoy, and see what happens when you use way too much copyrighted material on a YouTube video. So you live and learn. Live and learn. That's why we have the brilliant opening song that we have now. And I mean, come on, there's just nothing better than it.
Yes.
Wait, that's the wrong part of it. Come on. Like, how amazing is that? Wait for it. Wait for it. And drop it in.
And yeah, DJ Greg here. That's another.
What it felt like. I mean, I used Audacity and edited files together. It's not like I was really spinning anything. But everything you heard there, royalty free and good to you on a podcast, just like the new opening of the Greg DeMarco Show. So yeah, been doing this for over 9 years, and you still learn something new.
You learn something new every day. So. Yeah, we are back. New episode, new theme song, new things happening all around. But before we get into all of that, just a reminder for all of you listeners and viewers that you can go to thechairshot.com, which is your source for reliable wrestling.
Always use your head.
There was a slight pause. You paused slightly.
I don't think I paused. Maybe it was like a bad, internet connection.
Well, that's entirely possible with you.
That is also, very, very possible with me. I'm actually recording this from my phone this week because of the fact that usually my internet reception through my computer is terrible. So if I look a little different, it is because I'm recording this on my phone. I'm hoping that, there's
What's really funny is when you do that, that's when you freeze up. When you're talking about recording on your phone and how it should be better, that's when you freeze. And so I now have to filibuster until you come back. And for there you go, you're back. So the irony of it all was that you froze up while talking about how much better this should be.
Yeah, no, the aliens are listening. That's why they know.
As crazy and out west as Arizona is, if aliens were to come to Arizona, I think Tucson's got to be in like the top 2 locations they would show up.
Yeah. No. What's number 1 then?
Some faraway town, like some deserted area.
Mm-hmm.
I know most people think I'm describing Tucson. I'm not. It's like 800,000.
No, there's plenty of people. It's just that people like Greg and many people, and that's also why we became number 1 in coronavirus cases is Phoenix. Phoenix just is Phoenix. And they believe that they're the center of the universe.
All county's got a pretty high rate too. Don't pretend like it doesn't.
But who's number 1? Who's number 1? Who's number 1?
Maricopa County is, of course. I mean, the biggest county in the state. Like, of course, it's going to be.
Exactly.
We need to dig into percentages, but we'll do that later because this is a math-free program. Unless you decided to enact a Miranda right, and now suddenly we got to do math. I don't know.
No, why would I do something that ridiculous?
Before I screwed up, you were talking about this amazing website that this show happens to be a part of that I might be, the guy behind.
Yes. You are the kingpin of thechairshot.com, your source for reliable wrestling news, analysis, and opinions.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
And this podcast is part of the Chairshot Radio Network that has expanded. They have added a new podcast that is MMA focused, and there's been some shifting of shows. So new content published daily, some wrestling, most of the wrestling, and then some non-wrestling related. So if you want to get your geek on or MMA on, you can find that through the Chairshot Radio Network, available on thechairshot.com.
Thechairshot.com. always use your head.
That is the 5 Rounds podcast, which is now on Tuesdays. And, of course, you can hear Bandwagon Nerds now on Mondays. A Winner Is You on Friday still. Yeah, they're pretty much every single day we're trying to have content that's not wrestling related, but would still appeal to you, the wrestling fan.
Yes. And also this podcast and other podcasts are available through different podcast streaming platforms such as Google Play, iTunes. What are the other ones?
Spotify. You listen to podcasts on Spotify. How could you forget Spotify?
I do.
Spotify. There's iHeart. Those are the big 4. Google, Apple, iHeart, and Spotify. Like those are the big 4 that you know. There's other ones out there, like Spreaker and Podbean, which you always love to bring up, which I'm like, what is that? I don't know. But there's lots of them. Anywhere that you can listen to a podcast, you can listen to these podcasts.
Yes. And also just to keep in mind that you can subscribe and rate all of these shows, including this one. So please let us know what you think of the show. Please rate and subscribe. Give us feedback. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, because we're always interested in knowing. And on top of that, you can follow us on social media. The Chairshot is available at Chairshot Media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Me, Miranda Morales, well, I'm not on Twitter. That's why I'm the Twitterless heroine. That's my whole thing. I love it. Okay, so it was my thing. It still is my thing. We'll talk about it in a second, but I did go on Twitter again. I was on the Chairshot's Twitter this past Saturday covering Slammiversary, and Twitter is exhausting. I logged off Twitter after Slammiversary, completely exhausted, just like ready to zone out because it was fun. I learned some new things, but it's a lot to like tweet and watch things. I know that sounds like such an old person thing to say, but I am intentionally not on Twitter. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at the # Miranda. And Greg, well, he's all over social media. He is at Chairshot Greg on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Not on TikTok, not on MySpace, not on WhatsApp. I don't know any other one.
WhatsApp is not a social media platform.
It's not a social media platform. It is a communication.
Can you even get on MySpace? Let me see. It's MySpace.
I've seen some people who got messages about MySpace recently.
I'm trying to load it up right now. It's being a little slow. It might be because I'm recording things in multiple fashions at the same time.
It's fine.
I'm just going to close that tab and pretend that never happened because what I don't want to do is pull a Tucson and something go wrong. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave it be for now and let the show record.
Yes, that's fine. But just don't try to find Greg on MySpace. Hopefully don't make a MySpace account for Greg either because that would be.
It would be. I mean, there are multiple Twitter accounts for me. Look up Greg DeMarco Show without a W. It's there. There's a couple of them that people have used an old handle of mine. They took it over. They have like one follower, never did anything with it. But the thought was there.
Yeah.
I'm good enough to have a couple fake Twitter accounts. I will take that.
That's, when you made it when there's several fake Twitter accounts on you. Like that's a pretty prestigious.
Does that mean I made it?
Yeah, you made it somewhere. I don't know where. I didn't clarify where you made it. You made it to somewhere. Well, while you're making it to somewhere, you can also go to prowrestlingtees.com /the Chairshot to get your very own Chairshot t-shirt. I myself am repping my own shirt. It is the Queen of Soft Style shirt as I try and get up in my small space. But yes, Queen of Soft Style shirt. My shirt that is available on prowrestlingtees.com /the Chairshot. T-shirts there start at $19.99, and there are over 25 different designs you can choose from, different colors, and of course, different styles. This is the V-neck soft style shirt that I enjoy. I've been wearing it all day. It's been very comfortable. You can see behind Greg, he has 2 shirts as well. Always use your head. Always use your head. Always use your head.
I got to get more. I know.
Yeah.
I only use your head shirts. I need some Chairshot logo shirts or something. Yeah. I'll work on it.
Yes. And, you always use your head by going to prowrestlingtees.com /the Chairshot to get your very own Chairshot t-shirt today. That is prowrestlingtees.com /the chair shot.
Can we tell them about one of the newest shirts? Can we tell them?
Yes, of course. Of course. Yes,
I'm not as excited. I'm not going to cry about it like somebody may have done back in December when she realized her shirt was going to be available for sale.
I don't recall anything. It probably was winter allergies. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's
especially in Arizona. Help, I definitely do. Definitely heard
lots of pollen in the winter time.
Right. Add it to your script though, Miranda, for next week, because if you go over to prowrestlingtees.com/the chair shot, you can hate me too with your Everybody Hates Greg shirt over at prowrestlingtees.com/the chair shot. Now, I teased Miranda with this design months ago and she said she was going to get 2. So now she's on the hook for 2 T-shirts. For some reason, why she needs 2 of the same. I mean, you bought 2 Queen of Soft Style T-shirts at some point.
Well, I lost one, so maybe that's why I said I needed 2.
All the shirts you could lose, you lost your own.
I honestly don't know what happened to it. I don't know. Maybe it's stuck behind somewhere that I haven't seen in a while. I'm not sure, but it happens. But, I am going to be very excited to rep my Everyone Hates Greg shirt because, I personally don't hate Greg, but I know everybody else does. So I feel like it's just,
That's right. Do it. Hate me. Buy the shirt. Everybody Hates Greg. Buy any of the shirt. There's so many of them. A Winner Is You. A new podcast now has a new shirt they designed themselves. Patrick's really been bugging me to get him a Bandwagon Nerd shirt, so I'm going to do that. Because, it's what I do. But no, I'm very excited about everything that we have out there. So go check it out. Pick up an Everybody Hates Greg shirt. Pick up a Queen of Soft Style shirt. Pick up one of the other designs. Just pick one. Get it in soft style. It is definitely. I mean, I'm wearing the shirt I'm wearing now is not a Chairshot T-shirt, but it is a soft style T-shirt. It's the only thing.
That's acceptable. I'll allow it.
Yeah. I tweeted in about this brand of shirt that I'm wearing a couple weeks ago, and I swear by it now. It's one of my new finds of having to buy new clothes. There's a little shirt company out there called Into the AM, INTOTAGAM. Amazing T-shirts. I'm not getting paid for saying this. Amazing T-shirts. Go out there and buy them. And you can get like 3 for $40 or something like that. It's a great deal. They have discounts all the time, so go check it out. IntoTheAM.com. Tell them Greg DeMarco sent you. They don't know who I am, but they retweeted me, but that's about it.
Well, that sounds very interesting. I'm going to stick to my Queen of Soft Style shirt as my shirt, but to each is their own.
Well, I feel like I thought about wearing one of these shirts while we're recording, but then what the hell would I hang up behind me? So
then it would just be weird for you, and I'd feel really bad for you,
And enough of this is weird for me as it is, so why just pile on more?
Exactly. This whole thing is really weird for you and very normal for me. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in my soft style shirt being weird as hell. Welcome. So, this weekend, actually, we had 2 pay-per-views, a very loaded weekend in professional wrestling. On Saturday night, we had Impact Wrestling presenting Slammiversary. This was their first show in several pay-per-view in several months. They have still been running. There's been some people who didn't even know Impact still had weekly shows. I don't blame you. It's been hard to keep track. They are on Access TV. Not a lot of people have that channel, but I know they've moved around over the past few years. They found a stable home on Access TV for quite a while now, so good for them. And during the pandemic, they have been airing weekly TV shows every Tuesday night on Access. So, this airs on Tuesday. We record on Tuesday. So
we record on Tuesdays, but because we're on Western time, they air on Eastern time. That's the great thing about living on the West Coast is everything's off TV by the time we do stuff like this. So
so it doesn't really matter. But by the time you're listening to this, if you didn't know, you can go Access TV to watch Impact Weekly show.
Also, they also stream it on Twitch live still. I don't know. I get early. I'm not even gonna say what I get. Never mind. Proceed. I almost pulled the curtain back too far. Putting it back now.
No. So I want to provide a little context because I don't always talk about Impact Wrestling, but it's actually a show I actually watch on a weekly basis. I do this because I do an Impact review with Niger Chambers, who is part of Big Gold Belt Media. We record a weekly show that's available on YouTube. You can go check out biggoldbeltmedia.com. You can check out Big Gold Belt Media on YouTube. And different show. But I've actually been watching Impact probably more regularly than any other product because of this. It's kind of forced me to watch the product a little bit more. So going into Slammiversary, I was actually very excited. I've been watching pretty consistently for the past few months, and there was a lot of storytelling going on, a lot of announcements made and teasers that they had, especially about a lot of the WWE talent that was released back in March, and a lot of teasers that some of them may be showing up at Impact. So there was a big build-up to Slammiversary. And, a lot of fans didn't know what to expect. I think with this pandemic right now, too, there's just a lot less options available. Local shows are not running. Other big promotions are not running still. And, of course, it's on a Saturday night. So, most people's Saturday nights are pretty free. So not only did I watch the show, but I also live tweeted my thoughts about the show on the Chairshot's Twitter account, which is at Chairshot Media. Again, it was an exhausting process, but a lot of fun. And I wanted to talk more about this because I think the overall consensus for this show was that it was so much better than what people expected. And I've been watching enough to kind of have a good feeling about this, but in comparison with the other show that happened on Sunday that we'll talk about in a little bit, it seemed like it was a breath of fresh air and actually something pretty exciting for Impact. As I've been watching more of the show, I have been rooting for it as a little engine that could. I also have been watching it more regularly since going to Hard to Kill back in January in Dallas, Texas. That was my very first live Impact event, and for it to be a pay-per-view, for it to be the big show that it was, it got me invested in that. So, going into the match or going into the night itself, there was a lot of speculation about who was going to show up, and we had a few surprises and maybe some not surprises. The first surprise of the night was the Motor City Machine Guns making their return after almost 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, they've been back like as a one-off here and there, but as consistent performers, it's been a long time.
Yes. They answered the Rascals Open Challenge. They won. And that really, for me, set the tone of the night with all the prizes, all of the energy. Greg, you definitely were probably more of a follower of TNA or Impact TNA at the time, Impact now, when the Motor City Machine Guns really were active at that time. What was your reaction when you had heard that they came back?
I was excited. It's weird because sometimes retreads get the retread treatment and sometimes retreads are exciting. I am excited that the Motor City Machine Guns are back. And look, they were last consistently in Impact Wrestling 10 years ago. There's a definite limitation on what they could do now versus what they could do then. And both had retired at different points in their lives, and now they're back. And Chris Sabin had actually been working backstage for Impact Wrestling, which a lot of people don't know. And Alex Shelley, earlier this year, maybe it was late last year, I don't know. Alex Shelley was in NXT, teaming with Kushida as part of the Dusty Rhodes Classic. So he's been all over the place. There are rumors he was going to go back to Ring of Honor. Of course, they showed up in Impact Wrestling. And I was excited, though. I was excited when I saw it. I was tuning in and out when Slammiversary was live, ended up watching more of it in post, but ended up seeing the whole thing. But it was exciting to see them. They definitely, despite the years that they have on them, haven't missed a beat, haven't missed a step, and very excited to see what they're going to do moving forward. Obviously, spoiler alert, gonna have to be a big part of the company moving forward based on what happened today on Impact Wrestling. But it's very exciting to have them back and love both guys as performers. Chris Sabin, it's funny because there was an article that I read and someone was talking about, they were listing all the accolades of both Motor City Machine Guns, and they left out the fact that Chris Sabin is a former TNA World Heavyweight Champion. That was, I was the only person in the world who predicted that Austin Aries was going to cash in. When he cashed in Option C, would win the title. No one thought they would pull the trigger with Sabin over Bully Ray, and yet they did. And that was a great moment for Impact Wrestling. And Chris Sabin's a part of TNA history forever and part of Impact Wrestling history forever. Some amazing matches going back to the early first year of the company that Sabin was a part of. And Shelley is one of the most popular and beloved wrestlers in the world. So great pickup for them. Totally blindsided people by it because it's not like they were ex-WWE guys. I think a lot of people thought that challenge would be answered by Gallows and Anderson. I mean, had you asked me to rank them, I would have said it was more likely that Primo and Epico would show up versus, I thought we'd get the Colognes before we got the Motor City Machine Guns. Happily wrong.
Yes. And you're right. We'll leave, the spoiler free for Tuesday nights, but there's been some changes happening in the tag division over at Impact Wrestling. I think all for the better. Because no, you disagree?
Can we share the spoiler now so I can disagree with you? Can we at least share the spoiler? So I can disagree. You're partially frozen anyway. Okay, you're not frozen anymore. Can we tell people what happened so I can then complain about it?
Yes, I think that's fair.
The Motor City Machine Guns beat the North in their first title opportunity Tuesday night on Impact Wrestling. And I don't think that the Motor City Machine Guns being the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions is a bad thing. I think them beating the North in their first shot is a bad thing because I think as popular as the Machine Guns are and as great of a tandem as the North is and the heel heat they generate and everything that they have going on, I would have loved to have seen a longer-term program that culminated in the Motor City Machine Guns winning the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Championships. Now, both members of the North are Canadian. I don't know if there's any travel restrictions and maybe they got to go back to Canada for a while and be off TV. I don't know if that's a consideration in all of this, but taking that away for a second, if I had, my playlist, my way, I would have preferred to see a feud between the two teams that culminated in the Machine Guns winning. To me, it's a little hot shot booking, but you know what? The Machine Guns are still over after all these years. So as a booker and a promoter, I guess I can't knock it. Even though as a storyteller, I would have drawn it out a little bit.
Well, I wanted to say that I think that the change is good for the tag division. Maybe I do agree with the fact that I wish that this was extended longer. They did announce during this show that Bound for Glory is going to be happening in October. So that's kind of the next goalpost that they have. And so now with all of this booking that's happening, I would have liked to see something really culminate at Bound for Glory. But I do think their presence in the tag division and even just the shift with the titles changing kind of livens and freshens up the tag division. The North have been champs for a little over a year. So, and they have really gone through every combination of people possible. They don't have a very in-depth tag roster. And even, at Slammiversary, they defeated the team of Ken Shamrock and Sam Allen, a team that was just put together very recently. So there really wasn't anything left for them to do. I do feel like this breathes a little bit of fresh air into the division and also into the North. I do foresee the North becoming tag champions again. I don't know when, but I know that they're going to get it. And just the fact that there's money in that chase again, it doesn't bother me as much. But I just think that the presence of the Motor City Machine Guns, the changing of titles is good for the direction of the division.
I agree with you in the long term. I think it's good. I also, again, this is, Slammiversary impacted by a lot of things, not just COVID-19, but also speaking out movement. There's a good chance the North was probably going to wrestle Joey Ryan and Rob Van Dam at Slammiversary. And of course that couldn't happen, just like the results of the main event was probably changed by Michael Elgin not being there. So who knows? And sometimes you just got to one up what you originally had planned. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, it's the North, I think, doesn't get the credit they deserve as one of the best tag teams in the world. They were Impact Wrestling's longest reigning champions in history before they lost these belts. And they had only recently beat out Taya Valkyrie as the longest reigning champion in history, because as long as she was a knockout champion. So they're forever entrenched in that company's history. And I agree with you. I think they'll be champions again. But, hey, now we got the Machine Guns, and let's see what happens.
Well, speaking of the main event, two returns that we saw. Well, I was going to say one plus another one after, a few. So let me explain. We had an event scheduled to be a 5-way, changed after Tessa Blanchard was let go, and also Michael Elgin was no longer put on TV. They made it into a 4-way. Of course, Eddie Edwards, Trey Miguel, and Ace Austin, plus a mystery fourth. Well, when that mystery fourth time came around, it felt kind of underwhelming when this fourth person came out, which was Rich Swann. We saw him earlier in the night. He had talked about, recovering from his leg injury and that he was ready to get back into the ring soon. We didn't realize how soon when he was announced as the fourth. I think a lot of us, as you've called it before, we book ourselves into a corner, fantasy book ourselves into a corner, and anyone that wasn't who fans had originally, wanted to see, which was EC3, it wasn't going to be good. I do feel like there was a swerve on top of that where we did end up getting a fifth person in that match with Eric Young, looking fairly different than we've seen him before. I know for me, with no hair. Like it's all gone. So it took a second for things to click as to, oh, that is Eric Young. But, it was a nice addition. I feel like it did add to the match, having the aggression of Eric Young there, having the history of him. And also, Eddie Edwards, with the history that he's had with that company too, just to have kind of another senior statesman there really showed, just what the legacy of both of their careers, but how much this title truly meant to the company. Your winner of that match was Eddie Edwards. He is now the new Impact champion. I see why they did that. I think it was a fairly safe bet. Stability is what they need with that world championship. They haven't had it for months because it wasn't regularly seen on television. And it's someone who's been with the company for such a long time. Also, a very solid, well-known face. And, based off of what happened with this week's episode as well, Eddie Edwards is he's instating a open challenge where he's going to face people. And that, we're seeing it done in AEW. We've seen it done in WWE many times, and it works fairly well when you have a face do an open challenge. It brings good energy. It's able to showcase talent. So lots of positive things with that. But I was really rooting for Ace Austin. I really feel like that would have been such an innovative decision for the company to go with. He's young. He's done such a short amount. He's only been with the company just a few years. And the fact that he has done so much, I think really would have set the world on fire. I think Eddie Edwards was a safe choice and maybe one that they needed to make. But I think if they really just wanted to put things in a different direction, they should have gone with Ace Austin. What were your thoughts? I remember seeing on Twitter you had kind of a similar thought with Ace Austin.
I did. I thought, and had we previewed the show, I would have been pulling for them to put the belt on Ace Austin. First of all, had all the crazy stuff not gone down, Michael Elgin would have left with that belt. Like, that's what was going to happen. And they had built him up to that point. They didn't really build up Ace Austin, so I get that, and that was an argument that was posed to me today. But I do kind of agree with you. Like, he's a homegrown star. Homegrown star is somebody that they've built. Maybe he's not ready. I get that, and maybe his reign could have been underwhelming. Like, there's a lot of risk involved with it, and maybe now it's not the time for risk. So I kind of see it. Eddie Edwards, it's interesting because he's now a 4-time world champion. Eddie Edwards was a Ring of Honor world champion, which was shocking when that happened. He won the GHC World Heavyweight Championship in Pro Wrestling Noah. It was shocking when that happened. And the first time he won the Impact World Championship, it was shocking when it happened. Yeah. Like, every time he wins a world title, everybody's surprised, except this time, I think. He was a safe bet. And I think, and he provided a good, segue for Gallows and Anderson to come into the company as faces as well. So I get it. It is a safe bet. The open challenge thing, I don't love it just because it's open challenge. Like, when John Cena did it years ago, it was kind of not a new thing, but something that we hadn't seen in a while. So it was fun. Now it's everywhere. Everybody's doing open challenges. So it just seems a little like maybe you could have come up with something better. I think it actually suits Eddie Edwards from a personality perspective, but it's being overdone. And that's a rare misstep that Impact Wrestling had. Kind of like interviewing Rich Swann before he came out. That was a misstep too, in my opinion.
Yes. No, I agree. I was not a fan of that particular segment. I think compared to some of the others, like, I don't think, as much as I can appreciate what AEW is doing with their open challenge, I don't think it's necessary. I think that they should be actually building more of a feud with Cody against someone else. I do like, again, it's a showcase to bring in, especially people outside of the organization. I like that concept, but out of those who are currently doing it right now, I also think Impact needs that presence of the World Championship back on TV. It hasn't been on TV for months, and it kind of lost a little bit of its luster. So I understand why they're doing it. I think that it isn't a terrible move, because ultimately it does seem like, the roads are leading to Eddie Edwards and possibly Eric Young further down the road. So you got to do something, in the meantime to keep some story going, and also look, have Eddie look like a strong champion. You did mention Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. They came out at the end of the match to help out Eddie Edwards. They seem to be starting something with Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, which, I think a lot of people were very surprised that Doc and Gallows and Carl Anderson came out and more with the main event scene than the tag team division. But it seems like that was probably one of the reasons why they wanted to go to Impact and shift away from just tag team and do something more different and creative. So, hey, more power to them. It seems like it's a really good fit. I do want to talk about the end scene of that night, which saw EC3, because that was the person that people really wanted to see that night. And the fact that they decided not to put him on the show, instead having just his little vignette happen at the end of the show, was a gamble, but I think it was a smart gamble. Because we did end up seeing him later on this week's episode of Impact, so drawing more fans to the show on a weekly basis, which is, one of the big roles of what this pay-per-view was meant to do. Not only was it meant to, make money, but as a way to bring in more people into the product on a weekly basis. Is that your thought as well? Do you think it was a mistake that they didn't have him on the show, or do you kind of agree with the direction they went with?
I agree with the direction they went with for a couple of different reasons. Number one, there's no fans in the building, so the pop that you would have gotten isn't there anyway, and so that's not a loss from that perspective. Number two, he had been telling his story through those videos. And had did a great job on those videos that were being posted on social media. And this kind of paid that off. Could they maybe have faded to black and then he showed up or something? Maybe, but you already did so much. You crowned a world champion. You had the post-match angle with Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson and Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. I think keeping him to the vignette was fine, and then having him show up on Impact Wrestling later works for me as well. That doesn't change my excitement level for EC3 to be back in Impact Wrestling. I know a lot of people were thinking AEW, possibly Ring of Honor. This is where the guy excelled. This is where the guy did his best work. This is the company that gave him the best chance. I know it's under different leadership now. It's funny that he's EC3 and Dixie's not even there. Maybe we get Dixie again. Who knows? I got a soft spot in my heart for Dixie Carter. What can I say? Bring her out. Let's have some fun with Dixie Carter. But come on, how much fun would that be if Dixie Carter shows up on Impact Wrestling? But at the same time, I think this is the best opportunity for EC3 to excel and to make something of himself again in Impact Wrestling. It just didn't work in WWE. Like, there's no reason I can give you. There's nothing that we can really say. It just never worked. He didn't fit in NXT. He never really got a shot at the main roster. He had some injury and concussion issues, and now he's had a chance to reinvent himself. And I'm here for it. That's kind of what Impact Wrestling is all about, and I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be great. If he was going to be the fourth or fifth man in the match, he would have had to win it, I think. Otherwise, I think it would have been a letdown. And so the way they did it, I'm perfectly fine. Short of him winning the title on that show, I'm perfectly fine with how they did it.
Yeah, same here. There were also two other title changes that occurred at Slammiversary. The first one we had was Chris Bay winning the X Division Championship from Willie Mack. And based off of, again, what's happening this Tuesday, this past Tuesday's episode, it does seem like they are going to be running with Chris Bay as their X Division champion. And, this was one of the things that, because we didn't get the chance to see Willie Mack in more matches over the past few months, that title reign just felt very short. But, it seems like overall, with everything that's happened with Slammiversary, they're really turning a new page. And that means with new champions. So I think it does make sense that they now, move this belt on to Chris Bay. I think it'll be very exciting for the X Division. And it just leaves, a lot of room for new contenders.
It does. And I'm excited for that for the X Division. And Chris Bay definitely fits the division. I'm worried about what this means for Willie Mack. I'm a huge Willie Mack fan. To me, I think he can be a Dusty Rhodes-like character. My ideal fantasy booking would have been a heel coming out of Slammiversary as champion, feuding with Willie Mack. I think that it could be an opportunity to elevate Willie Mack. I just think there's money in Willie Mack. I think his run in Lucha Underground proved that. It never happened in WWE. He signed once, and then they pulled it, supposedly due to medical issues. Who knows? I was so excited when he got this opportunity with Impact Wrestling. I think it's a good fit for him. And I just really hope I hope he doesn't get lost in the shuffle with everybody coming in and everything that's happening. I think that Willie Mack has so much potential, and that Impact Wrestling is the perfect company for it. And I think he can make money for him. I really think when they get back to having shows in front of fans, Willie Mack can draw.
Willie Mack's matches are something else to watch in person. I testify, I will preach to that was one of the biggest takeaways I had when I was there live for Hard to Kill. When he did that 2-on-1 match versus the North, and I've seen him wrestle here, in Arizona, but it was something about that match, something about the chemistry, something about his athleticism, all of it. It was something just beyond words. And so I absolutely agree that hopefully when we have live crowds again, he can draw. He can have some of the best matches of the night. I kind of expected that to be the match of the night. However, I think the title ended up going to the Knockouts championship match with Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace. That match surpassed the expectations I had. And not to say that I didn't have any. I haven't really watched either Jordynne Grace or Deonna Purrazzo wrestle very much. I know Deonna
haven't been on much.
She hasn't really been on
much.
Yeah, same thing with Deonna. I mean, she didn't wrestle. She wrestled a little bit with NXT. She made, I believe, an appearance on Raw not too long ago, but haven't really seen her wrestle much since then. And she's been with Impact Wrestling for just 2 months and has been catapulted straight to the top of the Knockouts division. And this match itself, even though it's had kind of a short build, even though 2 months is fairly long, in some ways it's a kind of short, did a fantastic job with the ring psychology that Deonna did, as far as, being really more technical, while Jordynne Grace is just more of a powerhouse. Everything that Jordynne tried to do to put Deonna down with that brute strength, Deonna had some kind of way to maneuver out of it. And so I just thought it was truly one of the best women's matches of this year, and one of the best ones I've seen in Impact in a long, long time. And that's fantastic, because one thing I did tweet about, Impact Wrestling was, there was a big celebration last week about the women's evolution and, what that meant to WWE and professional wrestling. But I don't think Impact has ever truly gotten the credit it's deserved, because it's really grown as a division as well. Even though they still keep this tie as the Knockouts, that division has grown into one of the best women's division in all of pro wrestling. And they've made, again, you talked about Taya Valkyrie there, now Kylie Ray. You have a young roster, not only wrestle, but has just a big dynamic on the company. And this was just really good storytelling, really good wrestling.
I agree fully. And it's funny because as much as I don't like Willie Mack already losing the X Division Championship, I was totally fine with Jordynne Grace losing the Knockouts Championship. Deonna Purrazzo just strikes me as a champion, and I feel like the move to Impact Wrestling was a smart move for her. I know people thought, Ring of Honor, AEW, I could give you 1.5 million reasons why that was never going to happen, but I'll save that for another time, another place.
Yeah, not for this one.
Not for this one, no. But at the same time, it's just, she fits. It made sense. Jordynne Grace, I almost feel like she's a bit of a division killer in the Knockouts division just because of how good she is and how powerful she is. Maybe she can slide into the Tessa Blanchard spot now that Tessa Blanchard's gone. I don't know what we do there, but I think that Deonna Purrazzo coming in, becoming the Knockouts champion was a great call. My only concern is that she's not under contract. That's a bit concerning to me because she could literally show up anywhere. She could show up on NXT on Wednesday. She literally is not under contract and could show up anywhere with that Knockouts championship. I don't think she will, especially in this day and age in pro wrestling. And honestly, if she showed up on AEW, that would only help Impact Wrestling. But it just, to me, that just seems a little bit weird. We've been down that road before. We've made those mistakes before in different companies. Hopefully they get that rectified. Maybe they did at the recent tapings. Who knows? But let's get her under a deal and let's focus on her, because I do think she's someone that, you could break the longest reigning champion record with a talent like Deonna Purrazzo, and the way that she wrestles lends itself to a lengthy title reign. So I think we could see it, and I hope we do.
And part of me kind of knew the direction they were going in, because earlier in the night, they did have the gauntlet match to determine the number one contenders for the Knockouts Championship. Kylie Ray won that, and so when that happened, you kind of knew they weren't going to go in a face-to-face direction with her versus Jordynne Grace, that they were going to go in a face-heel dynamic between her and Deonna Purrazzo. And we saw this week on Impact that they already have some really good chemistry fighting against each other. So, again, we'll see what happens. But again, I feel like overall this event was a new chapter with Impact. I think one that fans appreciated, one that, there's still a lot to see. Now it just feels like it's their ball to drop, that they've had the momentum. They were able to capitalize on a lot of the fans that were either coming back or brand new to the product. They touted that, they were number one trending on Twitter on Saturday as well. So there was a huge social media presence and success for the company on that level, which, trending number one worldwide, that's
which they reminded us during Impact Wrestling. They used the phrase trending worldwide more times than The Rock has in a promo. So that was fun. I don't know if you have it planned somewhere else, but can I share some of the other numbers?
Yeah, no, I'm not the numbers person.
I know. And I sent it to you too, but I was like, she's not going to read this. It's numbers. But they're just amazing numbers. Like, their Twitter engagement was just destroyed their single day record, which was Slammiversary in 2018, nearly doubling it by the amount of engagement that they had. They kicked the day off by the announcement of the Good Brothers coming in, and then of course, tweet showcasing the Motor City Machine Guns return, as well as Deonna Purrazzo's title win, are their fifth and sixth best tweets ever in terms of engagement. Their Instagram jumped 172% in one day, beating the Hard to Kill, which they did in January, of course. The biggest posts there were Eric Young's return, as well as the debut of Heath, whatever name they give him. And this is what really strikes me. Impact Wrestling's YouTube channel is actually the second most subscribed to wrestling account in all of YouTube, which of course is behind WWE, which is really surprising. And they added over 100,000 new YouTube subscribers during the last month. And that to me is just, YouTube is an underrated avenue for wrestling, and WWE puts so much focus on it. To add 100,000 new subscribers in a month for Impact Wrestling, that's a 20% rise. That's huge for them to do that in a month. So I think it's great. Plus they're doing better on Twitch and Access TV. And of course, in October, they're going to have Bound for Glory. So just a lot of really good things that came out of this. And that is a testament to the build that you were talking about. Taking advantage. Look, WWE released a bunch of people. When Impact Wrestling went all in on it, they took advantage of it. They paid it off with the stars they brought in. They didn't only bring back former Impact Wrestling stars. You got Heath Slater. You've got Carl Anderson in the company for the first time. They even, on Tuesday, debuted Brian Myers. Debuted Brian Myers.
You're
already playing the anti-WWE card with him. Well, that's not going to work out. But all the other ones are very exciting, and I think they're going to
that made the most sense to be honest. I feel like that he wasn't going to go to AEW. I don't think he was just well known or popular enough. I do feel like with AEW, there's always a little bit of a popularity contest. That the more popular you are in some level,
also
even
real crowded.
Yes. Yeah. So, good for him. I didn't mention Heath Slater. That's kind of one of my negatives on this, is that I don't like the way that they've introduced. Well, I like the way that they introduced him. I don't like the follow-up that they've been doing, because it's the same shit that we've been watching for years with him, and I want to see something different. So that was a downside for me on this, and they continued that on Tuesday. So, trust me, I watched it. Nothing new or exciting to me about him.
Here's
it's good
the thing,
that
is Heath a one-trick pony? Like, is that really all he does well? I mean, even in the Nexus, he was kind of that character. And then you go into three-man band, he was kind of that character. And then, of course, with what followed with the pairing with Rhino, like, this is what Heath does, and this is what got Heath over. It's kind of like Zack Ryder. Like, this is what Zack Ryder does, and Zack Ryder's going back to what Zack Ryder does well. It just, I don't know what else you could do. I don't know that Heath Slater has anything else to do, to offer, maybe.
And is it, I mean, but then do you sign him? I don't know. Like, to me, then I wonder, is it worth the investment?
I mean, he's over. What I'd be interested to find out, did they sign him before or after his appearance on Raw? Like, did the reaction to the appearance on Raw cause this last-minute decision to sign? You know, somebody get Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer, make something up so we can talk about it.
Make something up so
please
then
make
we can
something up
just
about
destroy it. Then we know whatever the opposite.
Heath Miller, Heath, whatever they're going to call him. I hate that they're only calling him Heath. Like, give the guy a last name, please.
Yeah, he's not like Heath. When I think of that, it's like a Heath bar, not like a.
I mean, let's be honest. Like I know we joke about the sound bites or whatever. There are still some I can play. Heath sounds an awful lot like
Watch out for Keith.
Like, I may have to make a watch out for Heath soundbite if they continue down the road they are with Heath Slater, Heath Miller, Heath whatever.
I think you should just do it just in case. Like, at this point, you might as well.
Watch out for Heath.
Watch out for
Keith. Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll get
work on it. Yeah.
I'll get Patrick on it.
We'll get Patrick on it, yes. So before we get into our next topic, though, we gotta pay some bills, don't we? I mean, these lights don't turn on all by themselves. I mean, they do because it's my house.
I mean, you flip a switch, but yeah, we do got to pay some bills.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is your boy Kenny Killer telling you to make sure you check out thechairshot.com, bringing you breaking news, interviews, podcasts galore, everything pro wrestling. Make sure you check it out, thechairshot.com.
Hey folks, PC Tony here. Thanks to our new partnership with Angry Lemonade, you can save 10% on physical products and digital commissions using the promo code Chairshot. Head to angrylemonade.net to check out their amazing catalog of products and services. Use the promo code Chairshot to save 10%. That's angrylemonade.net.
This is Greg DeMarco, and whether you love me or you hate me, you love wrestling. And we share that, and we can share that together by logging in and watching wrestling at powerslam.tv. Now, don't take it from me. Go ahead and listen to these guys, and then I'll tell you about the deal on the other side.
Are you looking for the newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at powerslam.tv.
That's over 150 of your favorite promotions found exclusively at powerslam.tv. So go to powerslam.tv and you'll get a free week. But if you use the promo code Chairshot, you will get a free month. Now, a month is only $6, but why not try it out and see if you like it first, and do it on us. Go to powerslam.tv, promo code Chairshot, get your free month. Again, that's powerslam.tv, promo code Chairshot, powerslam.tv, promo code Chairshot.
Lucha-masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
All right. And we are back. Wow, Greg, you talked and your mouth didn't move.
It's magic.
Magic. Movie
Absolute magic.
So, speaking of movie magic, I got to talk about the other bookend of this weekend.
Do we have to?
Yes.
I mean, it's your show, so I know we have to. But
I'm
we
just
do
have
a statement
to.
by asking the question, do we have to?
We did talk a bit more in depth about this show, Extreme Rules, on the Greg DeMarco show, so you can go and listen to that in-depth analysis. We are not doing in-depth. I'm only talking about 2 matches because these are the 2 matches that I think really defined this show. Now, I got to admit, so in full honesty, I finished Extreme Rules feeling dumber than when I came in to watch it. I was exhausted. I was like, I can't watch anything more. I feel like I'm dumber because I just spent that much amount of time watching a whole lot of things that just didn't quite make sense to me. And I understand it's professional wrestling. It's a suspension of disbelief. It's the horror show, all of that. But I think out of this weekend, there was 2 matches from Extreme Rules that had everybody talking. One in a pretty positive way. Overall, the other one was the shit show. I mean, not the horror show, the shit show.
Absolute shit show. Not our shit show, which is a good shit.
Not the good shit show, yeah.
Bad
There's
shit
good shit shows and bad shit shows. This was a bad shit show.
Yes.
So I got to talk about the SWAT match. If it's a cinematic match, your girl's going to talk about it because I love cinematic matches, and the SWAT match between Bray Wyatt.
The swamp fight first.
The swamp fight.
Can't call it a match, I guess. I don't know. Swamp fight.
That's true. It's the
Boneyard match was a match. It was a Boneyard match.
I'm asking for consistency, WWE. Like I will suspend my disbelief for whatever you need me to. Just add consistency to it. I need consistency in order to suspend my disbelief. That's just the one thing I'm asking for you. Gosh. So you had Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman. I believe it was for the non-title, I guess.
Non-title swamp fight, yes.
Non-title, yeah. They should have really emphasized the non-title swamp fight. Non-title swamp fight. Non-title swamp fight. Say that 7 times fast.
Yeah, that comes out harder than you would think, but it does.
Yeah, I know it does.
Non-title swamp fight.
Non-title. Is that? Yes. So. Anyways, it was a cinematic match, all based around Bray Wyatt really going back to his original Wyatt family character. That was a big basis of this, really revisiting Braun's origins with the Wyatt family. They did that through promos and vignettes over the past few weeks, and really this was the whole basis of the fight. They arrive, well, Braun arrives. Bray was there in his rocking chair. Braun approaches him, and the lights go out, even though they're outside, so I don't know how that works.
Disbelief yet again.
Yeah, suspended disbelief. Damn it. And then the lights reappear out in the wilderness, and Bray Wyatt is gone. So Braun Strowman then goes around to find him. He gets confronted by some henchmen. I want to just they're not really henchmen, but they're not really family. I don't know. By some guys. Some guys come up to him. He beats him up. He gets hit with no.
Definitely not Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. Definitely not.
No, not them.
Rowan.
Yes.
No.
I'm trying to remember the fire part. The fire part was before he gets hit with the shovel. I want to say because he get hit with the shovel, then he's chained to the chair, and then he wakes up and he sets someone on fire. Yeah, someone was asking before I even described the match, they're like, no one caught on fire, right? I was like, well, actually, someone actually caught on fire. So they didn't even know the context of the match, but they already knew to ask, did someone get on fire on this match? And the answer is yes.
Is this a wrestling fan or not a wrestling? That's kind of funny.
Not a wrestling fan. So that's why I don't know if that was a good or a bad thing.
I don't know. I really don't.
It was that predictable. But again, overall, this was a cinematic match at its core, really exploring the Wyatt family and Bray Wyatt's previous character. I really loved that whole scene in the shed where Braun is chained to this chair and Bray's really explaining how all of his personalities intertwined. To me, it was just like a movie monologue, explaining how him and the Wyatt family, Bray, and the Fiend, and the Firefly Funhouse, Bray Wyatt, are all part of the same person, and that this Wyatt family, Bray, was able to be re-released because of the other personalities. I thought it was just really good dialogue, and he delivered it so well. It is every time he does these types of vignettes and matches and storytelling, I'm learning more about a person, a character, in a way that I don't think I've ever learned about any other professional wrestler ever. And I think it's because no one has ever been presented this way either. So you get to learn more about his depths and his personality, but just the layers to his character. What were some of your favorite parts about this match in particular?
Well, I definitely want to talk about the monologue because that is... Look, for everything WWE has done wrong, and it's funny to say this now after the complaints that people had over the past 2 years, that Bray Wyatt, long-term, they've actually gotten right. And for a while, we thought they didn't, right? We thought they were going to screw Bray Wyatt up and all this other stuff. But they've stayed the course. We've given them time, and they really get it right. And all of his best work has been long monologue promos, like going back to the John Cena feud. Like, when you just give Bray Wyatt a microphone and let him talk, like, he draws people in. He sucks them in. He used to have, he used to sing. He's got the whole world in his hands during his promos, and he really did. And that's where he is now. And when he adopts the original Bray Wyatt persona, I think he does some of his best promo work. Maybe not his best in-ring work. That probably comes as the Fiend, but it's just amazing what he's been able to do in that realm. I did love that scene, especially with Braun Strowman being chained to the rocking chair of all things. Like, could he not break out of that? He probably
right. Could. That's exactly what I was thinking, but suspending.
Exactly. That, and of course the actual swamp fight, like when they were fighting in the swamp. I was trying to figure out, like, did they go to a swamp? Did they set this up somehow? Did they stage it? Like, I was trying to, the producer in me came out. I was trying to figure out how they did it. And the ending, which we talked about on the Greg DeMarco show, like, I was working while watching this the first time, doing website work, chairshot.com, labor of love back here. But I thought I missed the finish when the credits thing came up and Braun said it was over. And I was like, oh, I thought Bray won. So I had to go back and watch it, whatever. I'm like, nope. And so then I kept watching. Then I realized, no, the finish came afterwards. But you kind of I assumed the Fiend was going to show up, just like he did at the Firefly Funhouse match at the end of that. And I think it makes sense for the Fiend to show up. I think we're getting more answers to the question of who's in control. Is the Fiend in control of Bray, or is Bray in control of the Fiend? I really think Bray is now fully in control of the Fiend. So I really like that. And, the throwback to the whole teaming with Alexa Bliss was just another stroke of brilliance. When you thought you were going to see Sister Abigail, but it was actually Alexa Bliss, and she was being used to taunt Braun Strowman. Two things to that. Number one, I thought that was a story that they just never ran with that they probably should have run with. Like, you got this big, unstoppable monster in Braun Strowman, and the only person who could tame him is Alexa Bliss. Like, that is brilliant story written all over that they never explored. And so to bring it back here was good. Plus, it's just a great swerve for the fans who thought they were going to see Sister Abigail. I still think people are dumb thinking that Alexa Bliss is Sister Abigail. Like I said on the Greg DeMarco show, it's not. It's just the way that Bray used what Braun loved against him. It's just a great bit of storytelling for an amazing storytelling of a match.
And I think even of itself, now we're getting a better understanding of what Sister Abigail is that Sister Abigail is not necessarily a person. It is, what maybe she transforms herself to be. So there's also just like a lot of horror, mystical, paranormal elements to this that like one of my favorite movie genres is horror movies. I love horror movies. So all of the little things that they did that were odes to horror movies and these types of genres to me were very, very cool. I liked that a lot. And this was the perfect setup for it. And yeah, I agree about being able to draw some other elements. And I think that's part of the beauty of Bray Wyatt and the things that he does. He pulls elements out of his opponents, whether it's fear, whether it's disappointment, whether it's some kind of, it's whatever it is. That's why I really loved the Firefly Funhouse with John Cena, because there were so many things that played upon John Cena's maybe insecurities or regrets or those types of things. And they did it with Braun Strowman in a way that made sense for him, because he is a monster, but they tackled the one weakness that he has. So there was a lot of just creativity in this that I really enjoyed as a fan, and I felt like was just the highlight of Extreme Rules. Now, I have to calm myself before I talk about this match, because I talked about it a lot. Talked about it with you, talked about it with other people, because this is just something else. So the eye for an eye match between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. I have to admit, I liked the storytelling of this. This was one of the segments of Raw that I've actually enjoyed over the past few months, even one of the long-term storytelling that WWE's been consistent on. Just the back and forth between Seth and Rey, and this idea of, damaging Rey's eye, then going back and trying to damage, Seth's eye, all of that. And when I heard about this match, I surely thought they're going to have to do it cinematic, right? Because the rules stipulated, in order for someone to win, you had to extract your opponent's eye. Verbatim, extract your opponent's eye. So how do you then decide to go with just a wrestling match? When this truly, this was one of the things they touted as part of being the horror show, that, you have this eye for an eye match, and the fact that they did not go cinematic with that at all was very surprising. And I don't know, maybe they ran out of time. For whatever reason, they decided not to go in that direction. And the match itself was good. It was really good wrestling match between Rey and Seth. But it was not billed as a wrestling match. And the reason I bring this up, because there was a match I didn't talk about during Slammiversary, and it was one that I don't think got a lot of recognition or credit. It was built together pretty quickly, but when I look at it, I imagine that is what the eye for an eye match should have been. And this is Moose versus Tommy Dreamer. This was for the TNA World Championship belt. Tommy Dreamer confronted Moose several weeks ago, and it built up to this match. Now, they actually wrestled in a old school rules match, which that wasn't announced. It just came up. It just happened. And an old school match ended up becoming a hardcore match, which whatever, that's fine. But the fact that it was actually a very aggressive hardcore match, and I didn't get that sense at all from two men who are literally trying to pull the other's eye out, it just baffled me, the decision-making behind this. And one of my favorite moments from the Moose versus Tommy Dreamer match was when Moose shoved Tommy Dreamer's face into a floor almost full of thumbtacks. The visual, and there was some really good cinematography there. And I don't know if it was timing or luck, or maybe a little bit of both, with that close-up of Tommy Dreamer's face just literally inches away from thumbtacks. That is what I would have imagined for the eye for an eye match. Some good close-up shots, or shots in which you really see the other person attacking the face of the eye. And the fact that we really didn't get that, it surprised me, but it didn't surprise me. It surprised me because of the fact of the way that it was built up. It's WWE. They have all the resources available to them. And the fact that they did such a good match with the swamp fight that I don't know why. It's also WWE. Sometimes they do things without explanation that just baffle me as a fan. And you wonder why they go with this type of stipulation in the first place. Why didn't they go for something else? Maybe why didn't they decide to do more of a hardcore match? Who knows? I understand that that's probably, pretty brutal to both men's bodies, but the fact that it was treated as more of a wrestling match than a hardcore match after all of the buildup of literally, trying to take out someone's eye, like it just, I do not know.
It was stupid. It was just completely stupid. It was doomed from the day they made the announcement, from the day they had Kevin Owens. By the way, Kevin Owens announcing the match, and that has nothing to do with it afterwards. is a whole nother oversight. But the whole thing was just so stupid. And I don't think it had to be a cinematic match. I think it had to be a cinematic finish. I think you could have brawled to the back and then, somewhere in a conference room had a fight. It's funny, too, because you think of an eye for an eye match. Like, remember the Rock and Mankind in the empty arena match? And when Mankind lowered the forklift on the Rock, I can't remember if you saw it from the perspective of the Rock seeing the forklift come down.
You did. Because, you saw it where you could see
from the Rock's
him.
Point of view.
Yeah, you saw it both. So you could kind of see
the forklift point of view, too. Right? Coming down towards
man.
Like, could you imagine seeing, Seth Rollins or Rey Mysterio's point of view when the other one is, using some kind of scalpel or spoon, and you see the spoon coming at the eye, from the perspective of the eye? That is the kind of cinematic storytelling I expected in this match, at least for the finish. And instead it was like a painted-up ping pong ball or something. It just...
Oh, yeah. It was bad.
It looked horrible. And it's and we never even saw how'd the eye really come out. We just, next thing you know, Ray's in pain and Seth's throwing up. And it's just, and he's holding what's obviously a fake eyeball against his head. And it just.
You're a $1 billion company. Invest in a fake eye. You are $1 billion company.
It probably was a fake eye. It probably wasn't a ping pong ball. Doesn't matter though. It
wasn't a good quality fake eye. No, it was a fake eye, but
they didn't put,
invest in good makeup, good something.
Yeah. Have all these makeup artists. You have. You just shouldn't have done it. If you were going to do this, you shouldn't have done it at all, or you should have gone cinematic. Hell, they could have turned the damn thing into a cartoon. I think it would have been better than what they did. That's how bad it was.
Would have been
in the end. And two of their most talented performers, a legendary performer in Rey Mysterio, and someone who will go down in history as a legendary performer in Seth Rollins. And man, this is a low point in both of their careers. And someday during a Hall of Fame acceptance speech, when Seth Rollins is going over all of his accolades, he'll be like, but I did do an eye for an eye match. So it's just that's a thing. Not a good moment. And they'd be best to pretend it never happened.
Yes. Well, and speaking of, you mentioned contracts earlier at Impact. Right now, it is speculated that Rey Mysterio is currently wrestling without a contract with WWE. So it did make sense that if they were to decide to pull him off TV, they would need to do it for, an amount of time. Who knows? So it was a way to write him off. But the fact that this was the way that they decided to do that, so many things about this that still just are very hard to process. And we also live in a world where really at the end of this weekend, more people thought that Slammiversary was a better show. An Impact product was better than WWE. And again, we live in 2020. It's a crazy time. But again, for me, and the fact that I'm even comparing it to Moose and Tommy Dreamer still is something that to me is surprising. Trust me. However, I just feel like just the subtleties in that match could have been implemented with Seth and Rey to make it more believable. And that's really even the little subtle things, or the way that they even got into this match and treated it less like a wrestling match and more as a grudge or a fight or something, I think could have helped salvage it. It was overall a good wrestling match. And you talk about the ending too. I don't know if anyone really knew what was going to happen, how that was going to come together, but yeah, the way that it did, it lives in infamy now. It's pictures all over the internet about this little plastic eyeball. It reminds me of the little vending machines, the little 25-cent machines, and it's like a little eyeball keychain. I think I remember having one of those.
You probably did.
Yeah, little just a plastic eyeball that's on a keychain. That's what it reminded me of.
I think that would have looked better than what they used. It literally looked like a painted ping pong ball. It was so bad. And the sad thing is it actually took away from the match, because the whole time I watched the match and I was just like, how are they going to do this? Literally I was just like, how? Even when they were going after the eye and they were using the steps and everything, I'm just like, but how are they going to do this? And I was like, there's no good way to do this. And they proved everybody right, because there was no good way to do it. And it was horrible in the end, and it took away from what could have been a good match. And you could have picked any stipulation you wanted, and this is what you went with. And then you're right. Like maybe they had a different plan. Maybe it was going to be cinematic. And, we know about all the issues they had with the COVID tests and tapings were delayed and all that. Maybe they got back into a corner and realized, shit, we got to just do something else. And maybe this wasn't the original plan. Who knows? Man, just bad though. Just a bad look.
I am kind of disappointed that Ray lost because I do think Seth Rollins would have looked kind of cool with an eye patch. I'm not gonna.
Not just that, but then you have two partially blind people fighting each other. That would have made the blindfold match make so much more sense at SummerSlam if that's the direction they go in.
No. At
this point, you might as well. Like you've already jumped the shark with an eye for an eye match. Go full blindfold match. Go back to WrestleMania. Let's I'm sure Rick Martel's available. Jake Roberts works for AEW, so whatever. But man, you went this far into the realm of terribleness. Just keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. And we know because we put on shit shows every so often, so we know when sometimes there's no point of return.
There's a different stuff than.
Our shit shows.
Yeah, we're good at it.
We're good at our shit shows.
They're not.
We're entertaining. We actually
good at our shit shows. I just hit my microphone.
There you go. Yeah. See, you feel it. There's an energy. I can't explain it. I don't always know when the clap is gonna come, but it does. So
I felt good about the last one. Like I've already shown improvement. I'm not there yet. No. I'm not there yet. I got a ways to go, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. But I'm gonna get there. I'm confident. I believe in myself.
You should.
I do.
Every day, kiddo. Every day. Well, I feel like we've really touched on a lot of things that happened this past weekend. Hey, it's still a glorious time to be a wrestling fan. So I think it's good we're going to close the chapter on this past weekend, Impact Wrestling, WWE. We'll keep on watching these products and these shows to let all of you know our thoughts and opinions. So with that, another edition of the #Miranda Show in the books. Thank you so much for listening and watching to the show. Don't forget to go to thechairshot.com for all your wrestling news, analysis, and opinions.
Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Follow the Chairshot at Chairshot Media on social media. Me, the #Miranda on Facebook and Instagram. Greg, Chairshot Greg on all forms of social media. And as you're listening to this, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. Do all of the good things out there in the world, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's still some tough times. Many of you are still at home, maybe working from home, having, family stuck at home during this time. So we hope that you enjoyed this show as a way to, do a little escape or just to have some people share their random thoughts on the world of professional wrestling. We will be back next week, so make sure you stay tuned. And don't forget to always keep it soft style.
It's boss time! 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 In Brooklyn!